Hello and welcome to this session. So in this session we'll talk about print statement in Python. So print statement is very widely used and very simple application is being used, but there are many other advantages and many other tricks, many other possibilities which we can use the print statement. So let's get started. So from the agenda perspective, we will see some simple print statements, how to print text and variables, which is very simple. Then we'll see single quote, double quotes related items. We'll print some list and tuple. We will see formatted output and some old and new formatting styles. We will see what is a separator in print statement. We can using print statement we can write to a file, or so-called we can write to a standard error console, and we will also see the flush parameter in print statement. So let's get started. So here, very basic. So you can say print whatever in single quotes, print whatever in double quotes, and we can print a value. We can print a variable value. Then we can print a text and a variable with a comma. We can print multiple variables. For example, first variable comma second variable, like that. We can have a numerical calculation done inside the print statement, or we can do a variable two variable addition inside a print statement. Very pretty straightforward. Let's just run it. Okay, so print hi hello. Okay, as simple as that. Then print the variable value, print text and a variable value. So x value is 10. Print two variables, so x value is equal to 10, and numerical operation, so 2 plus 9 11, and k plus p, which is 4 plus 2, which is 6. Okay, straightforward, nothing fancy. Fine, so let's proceed. Single and double quotes. Okay, so we have seen the single and double quotes here, but there is some special case. So if you want to print, let's go with a single quote after t. So now what will happen is, if you put everything in single quote, what will happen? If you put everything in single quotes, what will happen? There is a single quote start, there is a single quote end, and then the remaining part will be unidentified or will not be logical. So for that, there's the remedy is that you put everything in double quotes. So put everything in double quotes, that means it will print as it is whatever inside the double quotes. Okay, print double quotes on a console. Now if you want to print this statement, welcome to home. Okay, if you want to print this like this entire statement, so this entire statement includes a double quote. So obviously you cannot include everything in double quotes, because the double quote will start here, will end here, and then again start here, end here. So this in between, this statement will be unidentified or will not be logical. So for that, you again include the remedy is you include everything in single quote. Here the catch is that this is not a single quote, this is a double quote, so it will print everything as it is, which is as expected. Now next, we using a special character or escape character. So if you want to print, for example, hi space backslash tom. Now I want to print backslash on the console. Now if I simply use one backslash, that is not acceptable, so I have to use one escape character called as backslash. So escape character, and after that whatever character you want to print. So hi and backslash tom. So like this, then this is what we intended, that will be printed. Now if you want to print this one, he said dash and double quotes, inside double quotes, I single quote am not coming today. So this entire thing we want to print. Now this is a bit complicated because it involves two double quotes, and it involves one single quote. So obviously you cannot put everything in double quote, you cannot put everything in single quote. So for that, we have to be tricky. So you have to use everything in single quote. Okay, everything in single quote, and then you have to use one backslash character or escape character for this single quote. Okay, so if you print this, it will be what is intended, it will print like that. Okay, now the earlier statement here, line number 47, is wrong, because I have not used a single I have not used the escape character here. So this will not be printed properly, or that will be illogical. Now multiple quotes in a string. Now if you want to have, double quote, single quote, again single quote, double quote, so this is a bit complicated statement. So for that, one remedy is that you use everything in triple single quote. Okay, triple quotes. So inside that, whatever it is, it will be printed as it is. Or one thing fancy is, like, you can try with backslash or a escape character for before single quote and like that. So let's run it. Okay, so let's go with single quote is printed. Okay, because everything is included in the single quote. Now welcome to home, welcome to home, home is in double quote, so that is all printed here. Okay, great. Now I want to print this backslash character, so that's why I'm using hi backslash tom. Okay, that is using a single escape character. Then he said dash double quotes I single quote am not coming double quote. So everything is as it is, as intended. Then multiple quotes, so straight away use a triple quote, triple single quote, right? So it is printing as it is. Only thing is this additional white spaces are also printed, but that you can remove later. And this fancy stuff, that also you can do here. Okay, so this is about single quote double quote example. All right, so let's proceed for next, which is printing list and tuple. So printing a list, so there's a list of couple of strings. So the simple way which I can find out is using join statement. So join and then f I for I in list 1. So basically using a inherent capability of this join method or a join function. That is how I'm going to combine. So this will print same thing what you see in this list. Okay, now how to print a tuple? So almost similar approach. Join statement f I for I in tuple 1, that is this tuple 1, and then you can print it. Let's run it once. Okay, so AABBCC XXYYZZ are printed. Okay, so you can print the comma also using a separator, that also we will see later. So this is a simple way to work on printing list and tuple. Now output formatting. So for example, I want to have output like in double quotes score space colon space in double quotes 98. Now this score is basically a string and then 98 is a number. Now that I want to print, but using a format function or a format method, whatever you want to call. So here the thing is you have to pass on this variable or the placeholders with index 0 and 1, and then using dot format, and you have to pass on the total number of arguments, the number of arguments you have in your print statement. Now this is basically using a format method or a format function. It is also very widely used because you can assign variable, so you have the freedom. Now another way is you can have overall statement which is like this is, and then again single quote, again the curly braces is, again single braces. So here effectively essentially you want to you need to have two variables to be included in your print statement. So again print overall statement dot format. So again similar approach here, dot format and then the number of arguments. The only difference is here you have everything in the print statement. Here you have added that in a string, and then you are printing the string with dot format method calling. Let's run it. Okay, so score is 98 and his score is 98. Okay, score is score colon 98 and then his score is 98. Okay, that is the intended output. Now formatting with named arguments. Okay, so here we have just given indexes, say 0 and 1, or here you have just used the formal or informal curly braces. But if you want, you can name the arguments or the parameters so called, and then you can pass on the values to those arguments in the dot format method or dot format function call. Now the advantage is that you have the parameters. You can also change the sequence. So if you see v1 v2 v1 v2 or v2 v1, so the change sequence changing and then different values passing, that is up to you. That is why it is called as named arguments, because you can name it. Okay, if numbers are there, then we can give precision. So if you see this uh, v1 colon 5d, so 5d means decimal or int or real or integers. So basically I want to print up to 5 digit number. Okay, so v1 equal to 73, so I am passing any number which is up to 5 digit. Now this is v2 colon 6.2f. So effectively I what I want is I want to have integer to be up to 6 digit and then decimal values up to 2 digits. So if you see here, I am passing v1 equal to 73, which is normal, and then v2 equal to 82.098. So if you see here, I am passing 3 decimals, but here I am expecting it to print up to 2 numbers. So what will happen is it will be round off. Okay, so let's run it and see. By the way, I'm using Python 3.9, which is fairly the latest version of Python, um, for easy understanding. Okay, right. So math 71, English 88, maths 88, English 71, 72, straightforward. Okay, the numbers. So if you see, this is percent 5D. So if you see, this is a number. The number, even it is 73, but this is having 5 spaces or 5 character length is reserved. Now if you see here, this is 6.2. So if you see decimal, so 0.2f, that means only 2 digits, so it is printing only 2 digits. Now this is basically round off for whatever number you have, that will be round off to 2 digits. So automatic round off is also done in the print statement. Okay, so now we'll see the formatted string literals, so using f string. So again, this is again a different style or format of printing the formatted strings or formatted output on a console. Again, this is 5.5 Python 3.6 onwards. See, I have two variables, so I can have a string, whatever string I have. I can say f, and in double quotes, I can pass on the arguments. Okay. Now again, this when it will be processed, it will be this maths one will be replaced by value, and then eng one will be replaced by value. So I can print the string, or I can have everything in the print statement itself. No need to have this additional variable also. So that is also possible. Again, I am passing the variables here. So let's run it. Okay, maths 88, age 85, maths 88, age 85. Okay, so formatted string. Then this is a bit old style, just to be compatible with the old programming ways. So in C or C++ languages, we used to have %s and %d characters, or what I can say, identifiers to replace it with the required variable. %s, s is for string, %d, d is for integer, and so on. So either you can have it in a string, or you can put everything in a print statement itself. Let's run it. Okay, maths 98, age 95, and 2 times. Okay, right. So that is for the old style. Not used on a daily basis, but we can use it. Or if you want to, if there is some legacy code we are analyzing, then this will be definitely available there. Fine. So SEP parameter in the print. Now if I go to the definition of this print, okay, so print is a ready-made available um, function, and if you see, there's a SEP separator, this parameter available. So by default, it is invisible, it is empty. That means what, after whatever I'm printing between these two commas, that will be with a separator. Now by default there is no separator, or the separator value is empty, so that will be printed without so by default value is this one blank space. So math, that is 98 space 95 will be printed. Okay, now again, if I want to print 1 2 3, so again everything is differentiated by a comma, but the separator is used default. Okay, so separator is basically one blank space. Okay, now here again 1 2 3, and then separator is empty, or no separator basically. So I'm exclusively assigning a value to a separator which is empty, which is no space. That means after 1 and 2, there will not be any space when it is printed on the screen, on the console. After 2 and 3 also there is no space, so nothing will be printed on the screen. So it will be like 1 2 3 with no space. Now if you see, I'm again having a custom separator. So basically I'm using a comma, so that in this case what will happen, this all the items which are differentiated by this comma, so that will be replaced by this separator called as simple comma, one comma. Okay. Now for formatting a date, so for example you want to print some date or in date format, so you can use separator here. This is just an example, not mandatory to use on a daily basis, but we just an example I'm showing. So I'm using a separator called as dash, so it will be like 09 dash 12 dash 2016. Similarly, I can use a separator called as at the rate. So basically I want to print one email ID on a console, so that will be name at the rate and domain.com. Okay, and then I'm printing 123. So let's run it. Okay, so math 1, math 2, 98 space 95. So 98 space 95. So it's a default separator, that is one blank space. Again here default separator one blank space. So if you see 1 space 2 space 3, 1 space 2 space 3. Now here I'm using a default. I'm not using a default separator. I'm using a custom separator which is no space. So that is exactly it is there. So between 1 and 2 there is no space. Between 2 and 3 there is no space. Now if you see there is a separator, custom separator which is 1 comma. So 1 comma 2 comma 3 is printed. Then I'm using a dash separator. So whatever is these three items, in those will be separated by this dash. Okay, and another example is this email stuff. So name at the rate domain.com, name at the rate domain.com. So there is a separator, and then at the last I'm printing just 123 at the end. All right, so this is about the separator or SAP parameter, sep parameter. Let's move ahead for the end parameter. Okay, so if you see, I'll go to this definition. So end is one parameter which is by default new line. So what is this new line? That means whenever this print statement is printed on the console, after that there will be end of line. So end of line will be new line. That means the cursor will come to the next line. Okay, by default it is new line. That means whatever you print, each print statement will be, so the next print statement will go to the new line. Now we can also change that, so we can have custom end statement. So here I will say custom end parameter, which is in this case will be one blank space. So what will happen? It will say when welcome here, okay, then it will come to the next line. Then it will print welcome space, and then after that, if you want to print something, then it will not be going to the next line, but it will be after one space, but it will be on the same line. Okay, we'll see that when we run the program. Again, I'm saying print again, and then it will end by exclamatory mark. So again, this line will be ended by one blank space. This line will be ended by one exclamatory mark, but it will not go to the new line. Again I'm saying print and empty, that means it is using a default end variable which is new line, so it will go to the new line. So let's see. So welcome here, okay, welcome here as it is, okay, then welcome space, so welcome space, then separated by one blank space. So again one blank space, this is one blank space. Then it will print this again. So if you see this again word, this is not going to the new line. Okay, it is on the same line because there is no, it is ended by one blank space, not a new line. Okay, so it will print again, and this print statement ends with the exclamation mark, so ends with the exclamation mark, and then after that I'm printing new line, so it will go to the new line and the program terminates. As simple as that. So end parameter we have seen. Now let's talk about printing to stderr. Now normally whenever we run a program, we will see some output using a print statement on console. So this is a console in this editor which is PyCharm. So we can also see the cursor or the console output on command line if we run the program using command line. Now that is for the print statements which the programmer wants to exclusively print on it on the screen. Now what if there are some errors? So errors can also be diverted to a separate stream called as stderr. So there it is easy for debugging purpose. So If there is an application which is running 24/7 and suddenly it is down, so it will throw some errors. So for 24/7 I don't have to analyze all the logs. I can just go to the stderr console or stderr stream, and I can check out all the errors, only the errors part, and then I can figure out or I can troubleshoot further. So that is why sometimes in programming it is used stderr. Now it is a file. So what is a file or variable? So file variable is this. By default it is none. So we will see file variable later, but for now let me just run it. So before that, let's see. So if you see the whatever print statements are there, right, the earlier print statements, those are in black color. Okay, now if I run this, because it is standard error stderr console, so it will be in red. Okay, if you see whatever is there, that will be considered as an error and it will be printed in red, and that is what we want. If there is some error or anything or anomaly, we want to see it in red, so that is why it is in red. Okay, now let's see how to write something on in a file. Now um, using print statement, how can you write to a file? So file is basically what it is, just basically stream and dumping on a disk instead of dumping on the screen. Okay, to be a very simple example, now I want to print this line called as London is awesome in a file. Okay, which file? So this is a file handler, and then I'm opening one file which is by default I'm opening in write mode, and then I want to run the I want to print it in a file. So that is possible using this file keyword or file parameter in the print statement. I have to pass one file handler which opens one file. Now I want to write this exclusively. Then in the next line I want to say New York skyline. Also I want to print it to a file and then close the file. Now in this case what will happen? It will not print anything on the console, but it will print the things which I wanted in a file. Okay, so if you see here, as of now there is no file here. Now I will run my program. It will open one file, write the file, and then close the file. So my file 123.txt. Okay, so it is printing the one which I wanted. London is awesome, and then New York skyline. Note that there is nothing on the console. Okay, okay. So this is dumping to a file. Now the flush parameter. Okay, now before this flush parameter, let's understand something, some concept. So say I want to print some logs, and my program is running 24/7, and then I want to print some logs. So logs I can print on a console, or I can print it to a file, so or in any kind of a string. If the logs are coming huge because of some, say, system error or some unwanted situation, the logs are coming in a huge quantity. Say I am getting logs, for example, 10 MB per second or 10 MB per minute or whatever it is. It's a huge. Now what happens is your system has a limit how much logs it can store in your RAM or a particular designated memory. So if the logs are full or the memory is full, then obviously some of the logs will not be captured properly, or they will be skipped, they will be lost. So for that, one of the remedy is that you store everything in a buffer, okay, or a memory, technical called as buffer, and then you have to flush out that buffer regularly, so that uh, so you store it in a memory, and then you take it into a buffer for some time. You process on it and then you flush it out. So like that, what will happen is you will always have some memory available for processing, and and in a way you will not be losing the logs. So for example, this one, um, so flush equal to false. Okay, so I will go inside the print statement, and if you see flush, okay, whether to forcibly flush the screen. Okay, so this I will run using command line. Okay, I will not run it from this IntelliJ because it is a different way of showing the output. So command line I will see. Now I will run this file called as python and then .py file. Now I'm running it with the default parameter flush equal to false. So now to explain this, I'm using a for loop with a delay. Now you see there is a delay of 1 second, and I will loop into 5 times, and then I'll just print the numbers, which is I value. Okay, now let's run it. So if you see here, it is waiting for 5 seconds because the loop is 5, and then printing everything in one shot. Okay, so everything is one shot, because it flush is equal to false. That means it is buffering everything and then flushing out and in one shot. Okay, so this is also one approach, but then as I said, for log processing or critical situation, that may not be the case. So what you can do, you can flush out the buffer or memory then and there, so that real-time logs you can print. Now again I will run this program. So in this iteration, if you see, it will not wait for 5 seconds, it will do flush real time, so it will print the values in real time. So running once again, so you see 5 delay, 4 delay, 3 delay, 2 delay, 1 delay, and that's it, over, right? So the difference we have seen, in the flush it will do real time processing, in the flush equal to false it will not do real time processing. But then again, if you say flush equal to true, then that means it is doing frequent flushing operations that might be costly, that might take your resources, memory, and then might increase your processing cost and so on. So it's a trade-off, but then it's up to the requirement as per the business requirement, right? So that's all about the Python print statement methods and functions. I hope you understood the concepts. If you like it, do share it with your friends and your community. Thank you.